Hello and welcome to Wednesday at 1. Today, sitting beside me is our Adam Woods. Adam's a bit of a superstar. And what we're going to talk about, I'll tell you why he's a superstar. He's launched all sorts of things and he makes people cry. You do?
So my challenge today is to make you cry.
Easy. And what we're going to talk about today is what people say behind your back, second guessing and coming alive at your edge. And I would say that there's been a lot of on the edge recently because of, I don't know about you, but the full moon. Do you go weird when there's a full moon?
I don't know. I used to, but I'm all right now.
Do you know what I mean?
Make you cry.
Generally, I find with a lot of blokes, with a lot of people, but a lot of blokes especially, it's like the menstrual cycle, where women have the menstrual cycle, but the menstrual cycle is when there's a lot of can't sleep, short fuse, maybe emotional, but rather than realising there's emotional, it's covered up by anger, up for a fight, insecure. It could be, why am I here? Why? What do I do to fix it? What am I doing wrong? And then it gets into what's wrong with me. And so many people think, what's wrong with me? And it's just such a horrible, horrible drain. And what I love about the men's groups, we were in a closed men's group last night, the fourth Tuesday men's group, is all that what's wrong with me and all the crap in the head about, you know, oh my God, I'm out of control and I don't know how to do this and I've stuffed up and my life's going to come to an end and I'm sure I'm going to go blind and my teeth are going to fall out and everyone hates me and stuff like that. And then we can sit together in the men's group and say what's up. And for me, it was such a relief.
Yeah, there's nothing like just sharing where you're at and not needing anyone to fix you, but just be completely honest. And you know, I've never done men's groups before, and so for me it was like, what is this place, and how does it work, and what's the magic? You know, do we all sit around a campfire? And actually, just over the years I've been going, it's just a really safe space to just become present and just say what's on your mind and be really totally honest and just practice it, finding, you know, that word that's overused, but authenticity.
Yeah.
You find out who you really are, and it's really powerful. You know, and it's something. You know, I can't quite describe it, but you know, we're not like friends, or we're not like colleagues in work, or we're not like family.
We're not bonded against anyone or against anything. Where a lot of people, it's like our team, or we are the victims of this, or these people are the enemy. It's very much on the same side.
Yeah.
And what we were saying earlier as well is the blokes in our group. One bloke in particular, we were talking about, remember how scary and off the rails he used to be, and the type of wacky, clubbing, sex-fueled, everything else fueled life he used to have, and how he used to press people's buttons and people were scared. And he's been through so many different stages. Now he's a father and is married and does business and everything's changed. And then other people and their different stories and how they've developed and become their own self-respecting man.
Yeah, I read someone posted an Instagram thing, and it was about your story is your story, and it's up to you to own it and treat it with compassion. And I think that's what I get from the men's groups, is that realising I don't have to be anything else but what I truly am.
Yeah.
And in a men's group, I can practice at what that is and get instant feedback. And not that I'm looking for feedback, but here are people who just know me through the way I check in once a month and can give feedback, and it's like, wow, okay, that's just priceless, because it's done at a level of just intimacy
and total acceptance. One of the things I feel is totally accepted on my journey in the group, rather than, well, this is what's wrong with you, or that's what you need to think about, or that's what you need to fix, or, you know, it's like, I don't need fixing, I don't need saving, I need you to shut up while I tell the truth, and if you've got any questions or anything that you've been through that's similar, then give me something useful to help bring out the best in me. And for last night, what really, really worked for me is I've been feeling on the edge. because I was in Portugal. This time last week I flew back straight after Wednesday at once. I've been back a week. and suddenly it's cold, and I was hot.
Right.
And it's a shock, it's a change in temperature. And suddenly from coming from creative and free, I mean, I worked while I was out there, to work, admin, not just structure, but lack of structure.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the full moon's brewing.
Right.
And I'm insecure. And I'm trying to avoid the underground because people are a little bit too drunk, a little bit too pushy, a little bit too... There's a sex vibe on the northern line. It's like, crossing boundaries. And then there are all the storms.
Right.
And with these storms, it's not just, this is keeping me up, and I haven't slept very well for the last 3 nights. But there was one of the storms where it kind of felt like the end of the world.
Right.
Like it was eerie.
Yeah.
How have you been sleeping?
Actually, what I really identified was that post-holiday feeling of like, for me, I was on a bit of a high. I had a really nice holiday with my son, and then came back, and then it was like that grey area of like getting the kids to school, so it's concentrating on them, and then suddenly Monday morning was like, oh my god, I better sort my work out.
Yeah.
I'm self-employed, so and I just took a dive, and I was just like, I'm feeling anxious about work, and I think it was the kind of post-holiday blues as well, and I think it's like permission to just go through that process. You take your feelings with you during the day, and it's often a feeling can start my day and just rule me for the whole day. So having a place like a men's group or whatever technique to just go, okay, I'm feeling like this. It doesn't have to be my reality.
And it's here and now, and it's passing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. When I'm in the middle of being lost in my head, or drama, or trauma, I can so easily think, it's always been like this, it's always going to be like this, I didn't fix it then, I can't fix it now, I'm out of control, I need out, how am I gonna, this hurts too much.
Right.
And it's just like down a hole, down a rabbit hole, where sitting together, it's like, actually, this is what's passing. I remember who I am, I remember who I was last month, I can kind of like debrief about what might have happened. Really eager to hear other people because it's like, what's happening with that story, and that was going on, and you were thinking about this, and seeing other people's experience. But it's that stop, sanity, check, what's up, what needs to pass, and what's the focus.
We just come from a networking group, and a lady was talking about leadership, and one of the key aspects of leadership she was talking about was about self-awareness. And it's such an easy word to say, but in an emotional crisis or storm, to have that ability to kind of almost stand above yourself and look down and go, oh, this is my inner child that's having a bit of a tantrum because no one's looking after his needs. I know where that comes from. I can see it now, and it will pass. Maybe I'll just go and have a cup of tea, or ring a friend, or go to a men's group or something and allow it to pass. And it's like, oh gosh, it doesn't have to be a big drama. Just
and when there isn't self-awareness, I find that that's when I can look around and want anyone to tell me I'm good, I'm okay, I'm safe. I'll hand power over, tell me it's okay, tell me I'm good, tell me I'm not naughty and in trouble. That kind of am I, handing power over, am I okay? Where checking in, and like you say, it's not necessarily a men's group, it's with a friend, or with a breath, or after a nap. And it's like coming back from my alignment of who I am and extending from I am to meet life. And talking about the am I and the I am, I wonder, it's the dog year.
Okay.
So the year of the dog.
This is
the
your
year of the
thing.
dog. Yep.
Close up. A dog chain.
Exactly. Part of the year of the dog, you may have noticed, is secrets and lies coming to the surface.
Okay.
Dogs, when a dog's done something wrong, it's written all over its face.
Sheepish face.
Exactly.
Like, me?
Exactly. And the dog year, stuff comes up, the truth comes up, the lies come up, stuff comes up to be shifted.
Right.
Another thing about the dog year, the dogs are man's best friend, totally true to not harming anyone, true to their master, true to what's best, and would never harm a flea, like salt of the earth. But the shadow of that is, what do people think? The paranoia part of the dog. What are people thinking is going on, or what have I done wrong, or I've done everything right, but what if they think this, what if they think that? And so many people come from families, maybe it's just people I deal with or have in my life, I don't know, where there might have been compulsive secrets and lies. And especially as a child, trying to make sense of what's really going on and not just being good, but also somehow safeguarding from what other people might have said. And then comes the second guessing of, well, if I'm going to be criticised or told off for this, then I'd better cover myself by acting like this or saying that. Does that ring any bells?
Strange enough, you should say that. But and it is really interesting, the kind of fault lines that are written so early in our lives. And I've learned to kind of treat myself with a lot of compassion around things that I've learned about myself and the way that I've held myself in the world. And not, there's no blame or fault in any of it, but I obviously learned a lot of these coping mechanisms, I think is what we're talking about, or survival strategies quite early on in life. And I was quite a people pleaser. I think I was like enmeshed with my mum, and I was trying to please her, and that's carried through into a lot of my sort of coping mechanisms in my adult life. But then, like we were saying earlier, that once you've spotted it, and you're aware of it, you can't become unaware. And then it's like, what do you do with it?
It's red pill or blue pill.
Right.
And once you've taken the pill, you can't spit it out and pretend you don't know anymore.
But I think that's also, when you're doing that kind of self-examination work, there is a level of pain, I believe, you have to go through, because, and not that that's, you should will yourself to go through something uncomfortable, but to get through those barriers. It's not just nice work, it's just like, I'm comfortable looking at myself and looking at what I can do to change my habits and my patterns. And that doesn't come, if you feel comfortable, then something's not working. You have to feel comfortable to break a pattern.
And that's the edge that we come alive.
Right.
Because I can totally relate to you, where I was an enmeshed, codependent. I feel like
I was more codependent than you.
I felt the opposite. It's like, now I'm tarring you with the same brush. But enmeshed, codependent mummy's boy, second guessing to keep everyone pleased, and that was done through fear in order to gain love. So maybe that was almost like the survival mechanism. I know for me that I then put into place, and I was a good boy, responsible for everyone's emotions, making sure no one's angry.
Peanut Evans is watching.
Oh, cool! Hey, and with that, it's in place as an automatic thing that then ran my life. My survival ran my life. So all I did was replace people in situations that I could please, that I could save, that I could carry on playing that role that I needed. And that meant that it limited who they were, it limited who I am, and that's what kept playing up. In relationships, in business, with clients, with friends, with everyone pretty much.
Wow.
So in a way, the second guessing in those days saved our lives.
Of course.
But now we have choice, we have awareness, we have choice. So rather than second guessing to save our lives, it's more noticing the second guessing.
Right.
And like you were saying about the inner child, the man in me saying to the little boy in me, it's okay, I'm here.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You mentioned that. It's like having this knowledge that there is a little child, for want of a better word, a visualization of the small boy that I was, and that yet, knowing that that boy can often create drama or needs that aren't necessarily suited for my adult self.
And maybe that little boy's in trauma. And that's why he attracts drama, because he knew how to ease the trauma by managing the drama.
Right.
So if that's what he does, then surely it's a man's job. It's not a little boy's job. So when I'm unconscious, the little boy the trauma comes up, the little boy's not taken care of, and that's what life demands.
When you say unconscious, what do you mean by that, when you're unconscious?
When I'm not present and connected as the man that I am here and now, and when I'm coming from fear, and the fear will automatically bring up my trauma or bring up my vulnerability. So when I'm not present and connected, then unconsciously the little surviving boy will survive.
And do you have any techniques because obviously you can spot it because you feel the feelings coming out.
Yeah.
When you spot that, do you have like techniques or tools that can bring you back to sort of consciousness, I guess?
2 things,
Right.
and they both involve nostrils.
Okay, no drug references.
No.
This is a family show.
The first one is when I realise I'm in that place, because when I'm in that place it's seductive, I know that place.
Right,
There's
okay.
stuff going on, I need to think about
It's
it. I'm
seductive because
disconnected.
you're used to it. Is that
Exactly.
What okay.
And you know, men like to fix things. Give me things to fix so I can pretend to be in control.
Right. Okay.
So when I'm there lost in my head, then I need to stop mid-sentence and take a deep breath and think, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. And who I used to be was that surviving boy. And then as I breathe out, I take part with what's in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the surviving boy doesn't take part with what's in front of me. The surviving boy is in trauma and needs to be taken care of. So in a breath, I'm back in my body, I'm out of my head,
Right.
and there's a man showing up who responds to the world rather than reacts to the world, and the boy is kept safe. The boy's not sent to the battlefield.
Yeah.
The man ensures that there's no battle. Go play with Lego, I'll deal with life, and when I need you to tell me who to trust, whisper in my ear.
That's amazing. I mean, for me, there's so much fear. I come across a lot of it day-to-day life in terms of my relationships. Not just my fear, but noticing other people's fear around not taking risks or not being encouraged to be really who they could be.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic. It's really interesting just listening to you, thinking about situations in which I act from fear, i.e., keep myself quite small.
And very often it was kept, because in all the years I've known you, I'm not very good at numbers. It's probably 3, 4, 5, 2, I don't know.
5 years, maybe?
Is it?
Yeah.
A long time. 2's my limit usually.
Right. Okay.
But
All right,
in this time, I remember who you were in previous lives when different things were happening in your life, and how it was very stressful and traumatic, and there was a lot that you needed to deal with and unlearn and undo and almost take your life apart to make space for you to show up, the man in you to show up, to move your life forward. So I think a lot of it was rather than is. And also, the way that you spoke earlier about inner child is, I know that you know your inner child. And I know that you can follow the feeling back to where he is and what's playing out. And I find that with myself. So the breath can be to stop and put the trauma make space for me in the present and take part. The breath can also be, where does this come from? And in a split second, I'll get a flash of a time, a place, a scene.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful.
Yeah.
It's awareness and it's present.
But also what's nice for me, learning more about that kind of work and just taking part, is that also my child holds a lot of joy, a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
And that, yes, there is the sort of wounded bit, which wasn't getting its needs met at whatever age, but also there's this authentic, playful kid that's still part of me and still wants to explore and try things.
That's exactly the bit that I was going to come to.
Oh, okay. This is not scripted at all.
It's like Bert and Ernie, isn't it?
Yeah. The camera's going, isn't it? Is it?
I don't know.
That's okay.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
So it's turning the fear into love. It's turning the survival and maybe the pushing it down, the depression,
Right.
into creative expression.
Right.
And that's what you do for a living. You make people cry. So before we get into, and basically, where did you just come back from? Abu Dhabi or something?
Abu Dhabi, yeah. I was in
What were you
Abu Dhabi.
doing?
I was shooting a series of films there for a big media zone that the government set out there. So Abu Dhabi is a very safe United Arab Emirates, very safe emirate, and it's very progressive in terms of how it wants to promote itself around the world. So I was commissioned to make a series of films about people setting up businesses out there. As a female newspaper editor who was amazing, fantastic lady, great presence, and there was a guy running an animation company, so all creative companies, and just interviewing them, and it was just a really great reminder for me around just how in the West, if I can be so generic, we can tend to demonise certain other cultures or have set mindsets around particularly Islamic or Arab cultures. I think there's been this fault line for many years, and just to go there and be there and meet people and talk about creativity and filmmaking and just realise we're all connected, and actually to really understand the benefits of having a very inclusive and very quite moderate society over there, but very faith-led. And it was humbling actually. I really enjoyed it. It was a really interesting, it's discovery of other cultures.
What a glamorous life.
Hardly. It's not glamorous. People think...
Don't apologise.
No.
You fly over to Abu Dhabi, it's hot, you're making a film about creative expression and businesses.
Yeah, I guess so.
And it's cross-cultural, and it's just like... And everything that you said, I'd rather do that than than a lot of the people I know who hate their jobs. And there are a lot of people around who hate their jobs and who are coming from fear. And before that, did you have a long stint with CNN?
Well, yeah, actually my client was CNN, and this was quite, I did a project in Saudi, and that was really interesting. It's the first time that the Saudi government had used CNN to advertise and talk about it. And it was very sensitive project because I had to get it right, and clearly there are all sorts of political aspects going on, and I'm not commenting on the news or anything like that, but actually to meet, when I say real people, but actually meet people who are this one guy was making a solar panel company that wanted to revolutionise the solar industry in Saudi, obviously to take away its dependency on oil. There was a female fashion designer and an amazing lady who was head of community sport and getting more women into sport. And it was like really humbling to go into a culture which has so many, I guess, there's lots of images from the West about what Saudi culture is, but just to meet real people who are getting on with things on the ground, and fascinating. That was a really interesting, particularly meeting the women there who are, whilst held back in lots of ways, undoubtedly, are empowering themselves to take hold of their, their lives and their abilities to, to do things in the world.
And if that's what you're passing on, then surely you're a good guy with a glamorous job.
It is interesting. I mean, these are paid for commercials running on, commercial airtime. So clearly there's a client and there's a brief and there's a budget, and that, that's great.
That's how it
because
works.
It's very clear, and that. But what I try to bring to those situations is a level of authenticity. So when I'm interviewing the people, I'm trying to engage with them. A little bit what we were talking about authenticity, about being present and grounded and not thinking about reading a speech or how am I going to be in front of the camera. So I try to bring a little bit of that to that work.
So it's who are you as well as what are you doing? It's why you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's connecting with someone's passion, you can't fake that. And so for me, working with the camera, it's getting people into that state where they just, they're just truly alive, and when you notice it on camera, it's incredible. It can really work.
Shining their spirit.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it is. He talks about people not enjoying their work, and I've been through lots of different variations in my work, and there's lots of work that I've done that I've not enjoyed, and I think it's taken me many years to realise that when I'm doing what I truly love, I come alive and I do my best work, instead of being in my head thinking, what's my business card, what's my salary, what's my pension, how will everyone look at me? I mean, that was the way I led my life for many years.
And that's the normal way. Yeah. That's the mainstream way.
I think I'm not saying anything wrong with that. Just for me, it's come, I wouldn't say quite late, but I've started to realise that actually, when I do what I love, I'm a better person for it, and I do better work.
We met after you made Baylor's documentary. So our mutual friend, Baylor Hatvarney, happy belated birthday. What was it, last month? What was the documentary about?
Yeah, it was about change, it's a big word, and he was getting a group of business leaders from all round different aspects of business.
There were some right hot shots.
Yeah, amazing, some really.
There's a Welsh word, crack up.
Okay, yeah.
The upper echelons.
Your inner Welsh.
The movers and shakers.
Right, yeah.
And there were some right hoity-toities there. It was so cool to hang out with all of these people and be able there to make change.
Yeah, it was amazing. Such a visionary idea he had about how can business contribute to provoking change and not just being, on the receiving end of people saying we want business to change, how business can take a lead and look at how it serves communities, how it serves the individuals, not just its customers and not just its share price. So turning it around, and there's a lot of work in that field, and he's continuing to be active, and I think it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I just made a short film about change in the business world. It's quite philosophical, but it was trying to just sort of, like film does, it can ignite an idea.
And then from Baylor to little old me.
The challenge for you, how do you make a film about what you do? It's not easy, and when we worked with your great colleague Lau on scripting, and it was about you talking about what you do, and I think for me the best thing was just to get you on the camera to talk about how you do and what you do, and to also ask the audience questions. How are things going in life? How does it serve you? How does this work for you? And doing like that. I think it only just scraped the surface of really what you do and what you're about. But
that was the first step. That was very much the first step, and that must have been 5 years, 4 years, whatever ago, when I was still scared of cameras rather than Mr. Spiel.
This is amazing. It's like you should have your own nighttime show. I think you should ring NBC.
Then I'll put on my cool
Tonight
jazz.
with Kenny D. Coming soon to a small screen near you. It'd be brilliant. I think you should do it.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what I was going into was we've talked about the second guessing and the paranoia. We've talked about a little coming alive at the edge, out of control, because that's coming alive rather than putting on a good show.
When you say out of control, what do you mean?
Out of control is when I am not surviving, putting on a good show, and knowing exactly what's going on and how it is.
Okay.
And
so literally you are out of control. So because out of control feels like you're just like all over the shop to me.
Out of control and coming alive on the edge for me is more when I am working in creative rather than in survival.
Okay.
When I'm learning something and growing on the edge, it's like in the men's groups, who am I really and who do I no longer need to be? Who I've needed to be in the good acts, that's in control. Being authentic and honest and present in the moment, that's out of control.
Right.
When I'm in front of a camera, when I'm on stage especially, which is really scary, that can be out of control.
Okay.
When I'm with a client, whether it's a men's group or a private client, and we're on the edge of something that's not safe, or something that's beyond their comfort zone, something that who they really are, rather than one step back wanting to be who they are. That place, that's out of control.
That's those aha moments. I remember when I first went to kind of some form of counselling or therapy, and some of the questions, just like a question would just like I'd sit with it and just go, oh, and it's like a sort of like a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It's like suddenly you realise that maybe the way you were thinking or the way you were behaving wasn't necessarily as well adjusted, or maybe not commenting about ones, but it's just like, oh, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
Is that?
It's I don't know whether this describes it, but someone from Monday nights, Fourth Monday Close group, quoted me to the group. I didn't realise it was me. I thought it was someone really smart. And he said that apparently what I said to someone in the group was, there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing that needs fixing. We just need to know your crap so we can move your crap out of the way, and who you are can shine through.
Wow,
knowing your crap is in control. Living beyond the crap and letting that protected inner child that we talked about, who has been pushed back so he can't be harmed, letting that essence shine through. letting, it's the place where when people watch your filming, they cry because they've been touched by the essence.
That's quite scary, that place. That can be
It
quite...
It can be.
Getting someone
if
vulnerable.
we think about it.
Okay, yeah.
But if we come from there,
Right.
it just is.
Mm.
So to take the shadow of the paranoia of what will people think, and the shadow of what will people think, which is fear-based, the shadow of that is the golden side of what do people really think, the good stuff.
Mm.
That, I would say, is your brand.
Mm.
What do people say about you when you're out of the room?
Oh, interesting.
It's not
yeah.
all bitchy.
Mm.
In fact, it could be really insightful. It could be really loving. I find out what I do to continue with what we were saying about my movie, that you did, that we'll post. The way I find out about what I do is years and years ago, my wife, who was then working for me, and thank God she is again now, went out with one of our film people to get testimonials from lots of clients.
Mm.
And it's what they said that I did for them, I realised is what I do, because I didn't know what I did. I didn't know it from their perspective.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like we did Men Flirt recently, Men Flirt's not about flirting with people, it's about being the flirt, being the authentic man, and letting that shine through. And with the best part, it seems, from that is feedback on tone, voice, facial expressions, body language, alignment.
That's so cool, though, isn't it? Stuff you wouldn't know unless someone gave it. That has to be done in a really safe space as well.
Exactly.
Wow.
So we're doing Men Flirt again. We did a short little taster. We're doing a day. I don't know when. I should know these things.
28th of October.
When is it?
28th.
28th of October. Is that the full day workshop? Full day workshop.
I'm going to come to that.
It is damn good.
Yeah,
it was
brilliant,
so.
brilliant.
Do you know? And I hate to say it, men's groups, people change.
Mm.
The Men Flirt, the way that people did a huge leap in their, not just who they are, but how they express themselves and what they attract into their lives was phenomenal.
Mm.
So, what I generally say when you're not in the room, now do you feel like you're coming alive at the edge? Do you feel scared? Do you feel vulnerable? Do you feel like you're going to be embarrassed?
Yep, absolutely.
This is the bit. This is the coming alive at the edge.
Okay.
This is who I am. This is what I create. This is what I'm not hiding because I'm shy and polite and English and other people should say it. And what, me really? Bollocks to that. Am I allowed to say bollocks? Yes, it's my show.
We've gone from Year of the Dog to bollocks.
It's the dog's bollocks.
Rolling.
So what I say about you when you're not in the room is Adam did this really great video of me, and it was scripted, and he had a lot of work because it was scripted, and Adam's work seems to be beyond the script and being invisible and shining the light of who people are, what they're here for, and how they deliver it, how they operate in the world. And that's the intimate part. And then I say, but you know what? There are so many people who doesn't make movies these days. Everyone makes movies. And I say there's so many people that make movies, and they say that you're only as good as the last piece of work that you did. And generally I have an idea of what you've done, or what I kind of watch your shows, and it's so intimate. It's so atmospheric. It's so arty, and it captures moments, and these moments often make my heart open as much as they make me think. And for me, intellectual's fine, but I'm not that smart. But when I feel it, when I'm touched, so that's the second thing, is I say, yeah, he did this stuff for me, and then it's like, yeah, check out his latest. But I really say, the way that I boast, and I'm a name dropper, the way that I boast about, I know people that have done cool things, is, and Adam has launched, and then, I don't know if I'm right with this, Adam launched Carlton TV, one of the Discovery channels. Da, 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 da. I'm probably wrong, so you spiel this.
No, but I mean that was my previous career as a creative director. So
go on.
For many years. But I worked on the launches of. I didn't personally launch them, but
Right.
well, it was Carlton Television originally. BSB, as it was then, the Squarial, which is now Sky, and then BBC World, which is a worldwide news channel. And Discovery Channel. It wasn't so much a launch as a relaunch, and then Animal Planet, Discovery Home and Leisure, Discovery in Germany.
Didn't you do a Hallmark thing?
Oh, Hallmark Channel, yeah.
Oh, Hallmark.
No,
No, what I mean is, these things are very, very impressive to people. And the way that you now reel them off, before you wouldn't even reel them off, or you go, oh yeah, those things from the past no one wants to know.
But Kenny, you're only as good as your last job.
and there are a lot of people with good last jobs. There aren't a lot of people who've been around and done big stuff like you have, who are comfortable managing budgets, knowing the outcomes, managing, the business side as well as the creative side, and pulling it together.
Yeah.
So if I was to choose between lots of people and their latest jobs, and young people and older people and older people, and then you've got this edge of that type of a career.
It's really interesting what you talk about when you say the word older people, because I'm in my 50s, like you are.
No, I'm not.
Okay, I don't care. Look, it doesn't matter, does it? Really? This is what I mean. It's a number, but it's sort of. I really love the idea that apparently by 2020, 1 out of 3 people is going to be over 50. I think it is. So this idea that ageism is rife, I don't know whether it is or not, but that we're really going to have to start thinking about how people can maintain their working lives longer, and be more contributing towards society. Not that they aren't already, but just we're going to have to just turn things around. This whole idea that after a certain age, you're redundant or old. I think it's so last century, and it just really, I hope there are more things in place to allow people to work longer. And maybe for me, it's about me to pass on what I've learned to mentor other people in what I do, so ensure that continuity continues.
That's a really interesting one, because when I turned 50, suddenly.
So you are.
I'm 54 and probably 2 weeks. It was really weird. When I turned 50, it was like, I want to pass this on. And I didn't even have those thoughts before.
Really?
But suddenly it's like, I want to pass these on. So, and
but
then
it's not out of fear, like, oh God, I'm on my decline now.
No.
But it's more about, what is it? It's just.
It was just like realising I've got stuff that might be handy, and realising that I just want to share it with everyone.
Yeah.
It's not about competition and being fearful and separation and isolation. And,
so that's why you have that men facilitate thing, which is where which I think that's amazing. You're handing that ability to set up men's groups to other people, so the whole thing can start becoming more common, more widespread.
Common and widespread as muck. And then before Men Facilitate, or with Men Facilitate, Bertie's made some movies about the check-in round and the ground rules and all of that. So it's given away that you even need to do the training. And then there's the mensgroups.co.uk to get the download of the ground rules and the check-in round. So there's so much for free.
Great.
And for those who want more, if they're running their own men's groups or they're coaches or therapists or whatever, fine, come along.
Brilliant.
But that was the passing it on. But that's not now I'm winding down. It's more like now I know the depth of work, and it gives me space to do my next chapter. And would you say it's the same for you? Because you said about passing it on, but meanwhile, you're busy.
Well, yeah, it's just, literally just came up as we were talking, and I just thought, yes, actually it is about passing it on, and I know I don't do it, and I haven't passed it on, and maybe that's something I should be thinking about, and how I can, not saying train, I've run some teenage filmmaking courses, which have been amazing, I love doing that, but quite hard to run and quite difficult to make money out of. So I have to, for me it's always a balance between, doing the stuff I really love, but also earning a living.
Yeah.
But I think
bringing up 2 boys.
Yeah, and
having a life,
yeah,
and a family.
Yeah, they don't eat less. They get older, they eat more. So, yeah, it is that work-life balance, and it's such a cliche to say that. But for me, I think when people talk about a goal in life and people talk about happiness, for me, it's just like the circle of like things are in balance. And yeah, it doesn't have to be happy, but it can be contented and fulfilled. So I think I'm on the road, but I think more contribution in terms of handing things on, I think.
And I wonder whether a way that you do hand things on is by bringing out the essence of people and passing it on through film, through them.
That's a really interesting. A friend of mine's doing films about old people in sort of what's it called, palliative care. They've gone to this place to pass on, and for her it's a gift that she's giving to the families of capturing something about their mother or their grandmother or father or whatever in their last moments, but doing it with dignity and ensuring it's kept there for continuity's sake and for them. And I just think that's such a beautiful thing to do. So yeah, it's like I think there's a whole wealth of, I wouldn't say opportunity, it sounds too sort of opportunistic, but there's ways in which film can really capture people.
There's a whole lot of love to share.
Oh, it's so 60s here.
70s.
70s, sorry. I've got my flares on.
So, that's what... How could I... Are you surprised at what I say about you behind your back? Because that's your brand. As far as I'm concerned, that's your brand, because that's what I tell people.
Okay.
Are there any surprises there? And could I tweak it more truthfully or better, or?
No, I mean it's just really I find what do I do? I find it. No, I don't feel like I'm comfortable. It's like I'm
because I'm bigging you up. Big time.
No, fair
Can
enough.
you take it?
Yeah, I can handle that. That's fine. It's really. They say the essence of great PR is getting other people to tell people about what you do, not you telling people about what they do, and that. And that's natural. That you can't plan, so allow yourself. I think it comes back to the whole idea of what we started to talk about, being conscious and being present. Is that then it just comes out as an energy. You don't have to force it.
Be it, rather than do it. Because I know when I do it, I'm a crap act. When I'm being it, there is no act. There's no fear, and it's not handing power over to what people think and performing for them. The monkey year has gone.
Okay.
Long live the dog's long wagging tail.
Long wagging. No bollocks on that dog.
It's a she. So here's a thing, just crossed my mind now. How about, I don't usually do this is the kind of stuff that Lau and Bertie and Angela say I should always do, something practical that people can take. And then after that, I'm going to ask the same question, contestant number 2, what do you say behind my back, the good, the bad and the ugly? So don't rehearse your lines.
No.
God, how can you not?
I'm staying present.
So, one list of fear. What will people think? What is it that you're scared that people might think or say about you behind your back? And maybe a list behind that is who or when. Where does this come from? Where did that behaviour or limiting belief, restriction, addiction that maybe you're still surviving, where did that come from? So what do people think? Write that list. What do you not want people to think? Write that list to maybe what's true and what's not. But where did it come from? The other list is the gold. So that's the dark shadow, this is the gold shadow. What is true that you don't cower and run away from like Adam didn't? Because that was bigging him up and telling the truth. And it's easier for me to say, this is Adam, blah, 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 isn't he a wonderful golden boy? And a superhero man. And a super dad, because we did Men Father the other day, that was good. So it's easier for me to say that. Maybe it's not that easy for you to say that, but at least own it, list it, sit with it, get comfortable with it, be it, and stop going, oh no, not me, or oh me, or playing small. What's the point? Playing small is as big a crime as playing big because it's avoidance. Play real. I haven't got one of those. Oh, here we go. I'll show you my new leaflet. if I can find it. While I do, tell them what you say behind my back, because you've got my back.
Well, I'm literally behind your back here, so... Kenny, he's great. Yeah, I met Kenny at this conference, and we did some one-on-one work together, and it was just... It was searching, it was challenging, and it was fun. I've never come across that combination of it was informal and it allowed me to get to places which I'd never have got to with, in inverted commas, normal therapy, because it was I was meeting someone on my own level who identified, and he brought a lot of his own stuff. So yeah, true angel in terms of the work that he does and gives away to the world. I just think, yeah, amazing guy. Yeah.
I'm so chuffed that I didn't cry. Because I was scared. I was scared that if you say, this is a really weird secret. Don't do this. I feel like crying 2 times generally in my life. One is when people say nice things about me. It's horrible. I hate it. It's like, no, but I can't cry. Because I'm such a bloke. The other one is if I watch something, I witness something, whether it's a movie in the street or whatever, and my heart opens. And those are the times. And there's nothing wrong with crying, but I don't want to go around blowing all the time. Anyway.
But we share a favourite film. I think it's your favourite film, but Wings of Desire by Wim Wenders, and I've got the poster on my wall at home, and there's a scene where he's an angel, but he's just a bloke with a Macintosh, and he's walking through a tube. It's all black and white, and he's hearing people's fears and their unconscious fears, and he's looking at them with just deep compassion. He doesn't try and do anything, but he's listening to people. It was just so moving, just realising, we're all carrying around fears that are running our lives, and that, so when I referred to you as an angel, I meant that the work that you do allows people to move, and it's helped me move from a very fear-based life to a very loving-based life. So.
You've described my favourite scene, probably in all movies, and the scene goes a little further. So do you remember, so he walks down the carriage, and he can hear everyone's thoughts, and all their sadness, and all their woes, and all their desperation. Then he sits next to a guy who's really going down the spiral. And I don't remember exactly what he's thinking about, but I think it was his life being crap, his aging mother or dying
Something
mother,
like that,
money issues, being lost, not knowing how to fix things. And then he sits next to the guy, still listening, and he rests his head against the guy's head. Do you remember that? Go on, you tell them.
No, but I don't know what happens next, but I just remember the scene. It's just, I hope we can post a clip on this.
Oh, yeah, I have posted it from YouTube. Yeah. So the angel rests his head, and you hear the guy who's going down that hole that I was describing in the beginning of being separate and not having a men's groups or friends or reality to check in. And then, with the angels' heads against him, he thinks, actually, the sun's shining a bit, and maybe I could do this, or maybe, and suddenly it turns into an acceptance, and then it turns into questions, and from being in the question come possibilities, and he just went from the downward spiral to zero to creative.
Right.
With the help of the angel holding him, invisibly holding that space. That's what I was looking for. New leaflet, get real. And it is about getting real. So that was the second list. Who are you really that you might be shy of, embarrassed about, that you've forgotten, that you're hiding from? What are the best bits?
And maybe, and I've done something similar, but someone encouraged me to ask my best friends or my family about, and that's quite, for me, I found that quite difficult to do. But actually, the stuff I got back was just like, wow, I didn't realise, because I grew up in, because I grew up in an environment where people don't talk about who you are or give compliments or whatever, but it really helped.
It's also interesting. I know we're probably going on for ages and running out of time. I've got no idea. But this is a role. Carol Ann Rice, who you met earlier, who called me coach, consultant, and guru of all things men in the Daily Express. How good is that? She's got something, I don't remember what it's called, it's on her website, carolanrice.com or something, where I think it's 50 quid, and there are questions, it's exactly
a confidence thing. She called it a confidence boost.
Something like that, where you get questions, you get things, it's all about asking for feedback, and there are things that you do. I don't remember what exactly.
Yeah, it's like cheap. Well, I mean, not cheap, but it was
quid or something.
It was like, really? Yeah, I saw that.
It's all about turning that around.
Yeah.
And what did you just say before I said that? Because I was going to run with something.
No idea. Sorry, I'm in the moment.
Oh no, and I'm in my forgetful phase.
Don't worry, it'll come up. Probably when the camera switches off.
Oh no.
But you're in your 50s, so you're allowed to. You need a nap now.
I do need a nap, and I need to take my teeth out. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. I will remember. Do you know what? I think my coffee's wearing off.
So just gonna have a nap and I'll carry on.
So, what I want to say is, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Oh, you should say your web address. What's your web address?
It's adamwoods.co.uk.
And do you have a showreel on there? Or
I
is
just
that
have
somewhere
lots
else?
of bits of my work.
You should get a showreel together.
It sort of is a showreel, but I haven't cut it into. It's just the bits that I do. So yeah.
Cool. Good. I wish I could remember that bit.
Oh no, it's annoying.
Anyway, do you like the autumn shirt? Suddenly,
Yeah.
from summer to
Birds.
yeah,
It's fantastic.
birdage.
It's lovely. Is it autumn? It does feel like autumn, doesn't it? We've got this beautiful sun coming in now, but
It
it feels like it's a change of.
and it does feel like that from the high and the out of control into the grounding. And I'm not who I was before the summer. And I've got new stuff going on. And someone said this the other day, it feels like with my business, even to an extent with my life, with the things I own, it's shedding, letting go of what's not true anymore, and getting it down to the bare bones, and then seeing where does this want to go.
Yeah, having a sort of declutter, both sort of practically, but also sort of metaphysically or something.
Exactly.
Getting rid of old stuff.
A metaphysical Nat King Cole.
Nat King Cole.
The autumn leaves. We should end. So you've done your way. Is there anything I should be saying about anything, Bertie? What have I missed out? Surely we're done. The end.